following account is real. Names have been changed to protect the living and the innocent. This journal contains language and content that may not be suitable for all listeners.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm hoping you listened to the Mixed Medication Account Part 1, otherwise this story might not make a whole lot of sense. And thank you for your patience with me. These 2 entries were pretty intense to get through. So without further ado, my name is Grant, and these are my funeral home stories. Chapter 18, The Mixed Medication Account Part 2. It's 12:45. I'm on my way to the funeral home, but not for a death call. I'm meeting Mary. When she called and insisted that she see me tonight, I don't know why I said it, but I told her to meet me at the funeral home around 1. I think I just wanted to get out of the house and meet her somewhere private and neutral. Well, as neutral as a funeral home your father owns could be. I feel like I've seen episodes of Dateline that started like this. Sure, young Mary would meet her ex at his family's funeral home, but little did Mary know Grant had been planning the perfect funeral, and it was hers. Dun dun dun. But in all seriousness, I'm walking into this thing blind. She didn't give me much rope when she called me, and I wasn't too eager to listen at that exact moment. I mean, if we're being completely honest, I haven't been very patient about anything concerning Mary lately. I was really sad for a couple of weeks. Then when the phone calls and text messages started to come less and less, I basically gave up hope and started drinking all the time and taking every pickup gig playing drums that I could. I'm just trying to distract myself with new music and new people. I'm a little lost at the moment, and I may be underplaying it here quite a bit. Full disclosure, I'm drinking way too much. I had a pretty rough night playing drums with a dubstep DJ at one of the college clubs 2 weeks ago, and it kind of fucked my world up. Not because of my playing. God, no. My playing was exceptional that night. I was basically playing speed metal drums to dubstep for a bunch of coked out white kids. It was awesome. It was my first time at a DJ gig. I didn't feel like a complete imposter because I could actually handle the repertoire. But it was the first time at a gig that I was thrown out into the alley by 4 pretty meaty bouncers during my set. I literally never thought it was a possibility to be thrown out of a club while performing until it was happening. Honestly, I've seen hundreds of people get thrown out during my sets, so it was kind of cool to put the shoe on the other foot until they opened the large metal exit door with my forehead. Anyway, that whole incident and the days that followed kind of scared me because I realized I was starting to trek down a dark path. Very dark, actually. And that's what led me to seek the power of pharmaceuticals to fix my problems. With all that being said, the whole Mary and not sleeping thing is wearing me thin. I'm pretty good at pretending things don't bother me. Hell, my family doesn't even know Mary and I split up yet. I just told them that she took another internship out of town. It seemed like an easier conversation that way. I decided to keep my relationship status private after I made the mistake of telling a few friends of mine. They pried too much and were being super nosy. Why can't you just tell people you broke up without a slew of inquiries? You know how people are. I can't right now with the 4,000 comments and questions. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You two were so good together. Or how about this fucking gem? There's plenty of fish in the sea, Grant. Gag me with a spoon covered in butterscotch pudding. Hearing that type of shit from my friends was pretty eye-opening and depressing. So I decided I'd wait until I had dealt with the breakup myself before discussing it with my immediate family. I just don't want anyone to think Mary's a bad person when they find out that she was having a whole second relationship on the side. I don't know if any of my friends and family realize it, but shitting on the girl I love isn't gonna make me feel any better. I do get how it makes them feel better though. I just don't find it very constructive personally. Mary is at her core a good person. I wouldn't have been with her for 4 years if I didn't think that. We fought like regular folks do, but things never got physical or really even that heated to the point of yelling. Simply put, we were good together until we weren't. The argument in the Panda Express parking lot stands out as the biggest blowout we ever had. It took us 4 years to get there, but we finally found ourselves screaming awful, hurtful things at each other standing under the lights at a Panda Express. She ended up driving away crying, and I left a few minutes after, stopping at the Taco Bell next door, which was still open. Obviously, Fuck. What was I just saying? I lost my train of thought. I think I need to take my meds, but I left them at home. I'm getting closer to the funeral home. I'm driving through downtown now. Thinking about my meds and my overall state of mind, I feel anxious, but I don't feel it bubbling over yet. I pass one of those blue United States Post Office mailboxes on my right and imagine my head slamming into it at the speed I'm driving, about 30 miles per hour. Wham! I think to myself as I pass the mailbox. I think about Nathan's folded and fucked up body laying on the county road earlier tonight, his caved-in face and ultra-tenderized brain on the pavement. I roll my eyes to myself and exhale, thinking about how weird the next few hours of my life are going to be. I'm probably going to have to sit through a lot of crying and questions I won't have answers for. You'd think having to be around grieving people all the time at the funeral home might make it a little easier being around crying in my regular life, but it doesn't. It's still super uncomfortable for me. I don't know what to say to someone that's crying, especially in the scenario I'm walking into. I mean, what do you say to make someone feel better that's literally crying because of something you said or did to them? Fuck. I'm not ready for this. There's nothing like the exhilaration of being confronted with things you said and didn't mean because you were angry. It's like swallowing a giant uncoated B12 capsule. It burns all the way down. I start to bargain with myself. I just need to get out of there if I start feeling too bad about anything. The past is the past at this point. I've already felt bad about our breakup and myself for the last couple months. Why should I fall back into that trap if I've already made all this effort to help myself feel better? Which really only happened a few hours ago, when the 3 drugs I've been backstocking in my bloodstream for the past couple days finally started clocking in and doing work. I wonder if Mary and I would still be together if I would have started taking these pills a long time ago. I can't start thinking about that, about the what-ifs of our relationship. Sure, thinking about what-ifs is fun, but thinking that way is a lot like masturbating in a rocking chair. It gets you nowhere. Is that the expression? I need to remember that Mary decided to cheat on me, and any positive thoughts I have about our relationship are purely out of nostalgia and absolutely moot to revisit at this point. We both just need to move forward and think about our futures apart. I figured if Mary and I met at the funeral home, it would be pretty easy for me to fake a death call and escape if things get too weird. Or if I start to think to myself, maybe Mary and I should get back together. I doubt I'll be walking away from this conversation feeling that way, given how visceral my reaction was when I found out Mary was cheating on me with some douchebag lacrosse player named Mike Taylor. But then again, I don't know. I'm worried that my vulnerable mental state might cause me to make a decision I'll regret later. With all that considered, I feel pretty relaxed and lucid right now. My anxiety is elevated, but normally it could only be described as crippling in these type of situations, so maybe my new medication, even though it's wearing off, is actually what I needed this whole time. It's wild what a difference 3 little pills can make. I also just slammed an 8-ounce sugar-free Red Bull because I was pretty beat up after that motorcycle accident tonight. I just need enough energy to get me through whatever this is going to be. It stopped raining earlier, but everything is still damp and shiny. I appear to be the only soul out driving around tonight. I've only seen 2 other cars the whole way down to the funeral home. I've got the windows down in my 2003 Pontiac Grand Am, and I'm listening to Making Flippy Floppy by the Talking Heads on full blast. I love this song. 3 of my speakers are blown in my car, but if I turn it up loud enough, it doesn't matter. Truthfully, I haven't put much thought into Mary and I's relationship lately. I mean, I have, but what good is dwelling over someone that's gone, especially when that person chose to be with someone else over you? I am a fiercely loyal person, and I thought Mary was too. Even though I'm meeting Mary, I'm still very much on call and may actually have to leave to go pick up a dead body at some point tonight. And if that happens, I should be able to leave straight from the funeral home without going home to change. I have an extra suit I started keeping around the funeral home after an unfortunate lesson I learned in a hospital cafeteria. I pull into the funeral home parking lot and wait for Mary to arrive. It's 12:59. Mary pulls into the parking lot. Not wanting to waste much time, I walk over to the back door and unlock it, waving to Mary to come over after she's finished parking. I wait for Mary at the door and let her in, and we walk together to the lounge. I only turn on 2 lamps. We sit across from each other in large brown leather wingback chairs. I offer Mary a bottle of water. She takes one. And so our marathon relationship discussion begins. Since this is my journal, I'll save you every detail of the 4-hour conversation and give you the Cliff Notes version. What did Mary want? Well, she wanted to apologize for how she's been acting and how she handled the whole Mike Taylor situation. She told me that Mike had already fucked 2 other girls in the time since I found out about him and has turned into a manipulative, mean person. I'm not gonna lie. Hearing all this made me very happy, but also incredibly sad. I'm trying not to give her much during this conversation. I have a tendency to over-communicate in these type of situations, so for once, I just listened while watching the wall-mounted clock ticking away behind Mary's head. About 3 hours into our conversation, she brought up the Panda Express fight. Apparently, while angry, I told her that I hope she doesn't waste someone else's time in a relationship like she wasted mine, and that I hope she ends up miserable and unmarried. Pretty brutal. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing and using less colorful language than I did that night because I'm not proud of what I said and how I said it. Mary also brought up the fact that one of her friends was bartending at the club I was kicked out of the other night. Mary said she was very concerned when her friend told her that I allegedly flipped over a table and punched a bouncer in the face. I nervously laughed out loud when she brought this up. I reassure Mary that her friend embellished the story quite a bit, and I would never punch a bouncer in the face, not even at my drunkest. I feel my face get hot. Obviously, I'm lying. Not only did I drunkenly flip over a table of drinks and punch someone in the face that was twice my size, but now that I'm thinking about it, I may have actually made a pass at Mary's friend working the bar. I wonder if she told Mary that part. It's 4:30 now, and at this point in the conversation, I find myself wanting to reach over and hold Mary and tell her things are going to be okay. I think I want to try working things out with Mary. I mean, she has said countless times in this conversation that if I take her back, she'll never step out on me again. I mean, clearly she feels bad. She's been sitting here crying for the last couple hours, and all she wants is my forgiveness. We've been together for 4 years. Why shouldn't we try and work this out? Wait a second. I've been Jedi mind-tricked. Fuck, I need this conversation to end right now. It's 5:15 now. I've been white-knuckling this shit for the last 40 minutes trying to think of ways to escape, but I don't know how. The death call excuse isn't going to work. How am I going to fake a death call? I need someone else to call my phone to get out of this. Shit. More time passes, and I'm just sitting here saying things over and over like, I don't know, Mary, and I wish things didn't happen like this either. I'm hoping if I start to yawn loudly and long enough, she'll get the impression that I'm exhausted and have to be ready for work in a couple hours. But Mary isn't very good at reading cues, especially when she's upset. My Red Bull and medication has officially wore off. I can feel the weight from the bags under my eyes, and even though the temperature in the lounge is comfortable, I'm sweating for some reason. Does that happen to anyone else when they get tired, or just me? My pocket vibrates. Mary notices and stops talking. Oh, thank Christ for this phone call right now. I pull my phone out of my pocket and see it's Ned. Ned's timing is impeccable. I'll be sure to thank him later for this. Sorry, Mary, give me a second, I say as I stand up and walk out of the lounge. I flip open my phone and say, hello? There's just silence. Did Ned just pocket dial me at 5 a.m.? Hello? Hi, Grant, it's Ned. Oh, hey, Ned, what's up? You know we have caller ID, right? Okay, Grant, we have a house call. Nothing crazy. Meet me at the funeral home in 15 minutes. Roger that, Ned. I'm actually already here. What are you doing at the funeral home? It's 5 a.m. It's been a weird night, Ned. I'll fill you in later. Ned just responds in his normal fashion. Okay, Grant. Fair enough. See you in a bit. I hang up the phone and walk back into the lounge and see that Mary is standing waiting for me with her purse in her hand. You gotta go, she says. Yeah, house call. Ned'll be here in 15. Okay, well, I'll get out of your hair. It's so late anyway. I'm sorry. You're fine, Mary, I say with a nervous giggle looking at the clock behind her. We're just standing across from each other smiling. Neither one of us are sure what the other one actually wants, but I think we're both realizing the same thing. This could very well be one of the last conversations we ever have as Mary and Grant. Normally I'd be super anxious about all this, and my stomach would be flipping over itself from the fear of not knowing what's coming next. But right now, I'm fine. I don't really feel much of anything. Maybe I'm just too fucking exhausted to feel any real emotions right now. Or maybe I just don't care anymore. It's weird. I mean, what do you talk about when you know it's the end in a matter of minutes? Discuss the weather, ask about each other's pets, or do you make empty plans and prolong saying goodbye as long as possible? Because that's what we did for the better part of 15 minutes. But I still don't feel anything. Although I could see myself getting back together with Mary, I just don't feel the same way about her anymore. And probably never will again. I walk Mary out the back door of the funeral home to her car parked in my dad's space next to the portico covering the entrance. She grabs my hand as we walk and says, "Can we talk more about this in person when you get off today?" She seems like she legitimately wants to make us better and work this out. I'm surprised by this a bit, but remembering how lonely things get after work, I say, "Sure, call me around 6. I should be off by then. We can meet up or do something." Mary smiles and pulls my body closer to hers and leans in for a kiss. Oh no, what do I do? If I kiss her, does that give her the impression that I'm okay with everything she's done? Because I'm not. I mean, I may want to get back together with her, I may not. I just don't know how I feel right now. I just want to make sure I don't lead her on in any capacity. A million thoughts are running through my head right now. Do you ever notice how time slows down during intense situations like this? I can't think about that now. Even though time is moving slower, it hasn't stopped, so I need to do something. Out of mental weakness and a lack for any better idea, I move in to kiss Mary. I put my right hand on her waist and step toward her. With only centimeters between us, I purse my lips and I hear a horn honk. It's Ned. Saved again. Ned has no idea how good his bad timing can be sometimes. Shit, Ned's here already. I gotta go change. Call me tonight, I say, running toward the back door of the funeral home. Mary drives off. I wonder where Mary's off to now, I think to myself as I put on a freshly dry-cleaned 2-button charcoal expressman suit. I'm standing in the funeral home's public bathroom staring at myself in the mirror. I think about the conversation I just stayed up all night having. I mean, even if things work out, do I really want to stay with Mary? 4 years was a long time, and I don't know if I'm better off for the experience. Don't get me wrong, the lessons I've learned about people and life while I've been with Mary are important and valuable. But I just don't think I can trust her anymore. I don't really feel like I can trust anyone anymore. It really screws up your perception of the world when you find out that someone you know and love so much has been lying to you. I straighten the Windsor knot on my tie and tighten it around my collar. I think about all the details I know about Mary's life. Her favorite food, pizza. Her favorite color, green. And I even know that she played the flute in the 7th grade orchestra. But now I'm no longer beholden to remember any of those thousands of things I've learned about her over the past 4 years. I look at myself in the mirror and whisper, I think it's time to start forgetting. I splash cold water on my face and check my teeth in the mirror. Ned honks the horn from inside the garage and it echoes throughout the funeral home. A few seconds later, 2 beeps from the intercom ring out throughout the building with a message from Ned. Hey, quit playing with yourself, Romeo, and get your ass down here. Boat's leaving now. I give myself one last quick glance in the mirror and yell, "Coming!" as I run down the hallway. Ned and I are on our way in the van. Per usual, Ned's driving, I'm riding shotgun. He's got the radio turned on to the standard sports talk he's always listening to. And before we're even a block away from the funeral home, Ned pops in a dip and says, "So did you guys make up?" I roll down the window, letting the brisk autumn air rush into the van. You know, Ned, I don't know. We made up, but I don't think I want to be with her anymore. Ned can tell he changed the temperature in the van by asking about Mary, so he quickly changes the subject. We're just heading up Johnson a bit. Ned pulls out his mini notepad from his front pocket and turns the overhead dome light on in one motion. He looks up at the road to make sure the van is still in between the lines and then looks back at the pad of paper and reads, 22240 Johnson Avenue. Ellen Davidson, 85. I stop Ned. Ellen Davidson is dead? You're kidding. Ned looks at me confused. You know an Ellen Davis? No, Ned. I know that Ellen Davis at 22240 Johnson Avenue. Ellen and her husband Eddie were my grandparents' best friends. I used to go over there all the time with my grandparents when they'd watch me and have bridge club or book club or some other old people shit. They were the sweetest, and Eddie always made sure he had a fresh pack of Twizzlers for me. I fucking love Twizzlers, but only when they're soft. Wow, I haven't thought about the Davidsons in forever. They were always the cute old funny couple that everyone liked. I wonder what they've been up to since my grandparents died. Still playing bridge? Still going to book club? It's bizarre how things and people can slip through the cracks of your consciousness over time if you have other things happening in your life of import. Confronted with the new information of Ellen Davidson's death, I start to feel my anxiety bubble. It could be the fact that I haven't slept in a few days, or it could be that I haven't taken my medication since yesterday afternoon and the effects are wearing off. Or it could be the fact that I'm actually nervous to see Eddie. What do you say to someone who just lost their partner and friend of over 40 years? I feel like I'm going to have to come up with something a little better than, sorry. I have about 2 minutes to think about something profound. We're almost there. Ned and I pull up to the Davidson residence and park in the driveway. Eddie is sitting on his front porch in a wooden rocking chair waiting for us. The empty chair sitting next to Eddie makes my heart hurt, and I feel it tingling behind my eyes. Eddie looks up at the van with watery eyes and waves. Ned and I get out of the van, and Eddie walks towards us in the driveway. He's a sobbing, hysterical mess. He can barely get a word out. There's nothing sadder than a crying old man. I put my hand on Eddie's shoulder and say a line I've delivered 100 times, but this time I meant it. Eddie, I'm sorry. You don't have to say anything. We're going to take good care of Ellen, okay? Eddie just smiles through tears and is barely able to get out the words, "Thank you, Grant," before walking into the house. Ned and I get the cot out of the back of the van and enter the front door. I must have been in this house 1,000 times when I was little. It's probably been 10 or 11 years since I've been here, but nothing has changed. How has so much changed in my life in the last 10 years, but somehow everything in this house remains exactly how I remember it? The only thing that feels different is its size. The house feels much smaller now. Eddie is standing in the hallway that's connected to the living room and says, "She's down here." Rolling the stretcher over their medium shag carpet, I see picture after picture of Ellen and Eddie hung up on the walls or displayed on end tables. Ellen and Eddie in Vegas, Ellen and Eddie in Hawaii. And then I see the picture that breaks my heart. It's Eddie and Ellen on their wedding day. It's a large black and white print blown up and framed. They look so happy here in this picture. They were in love. Real, honest to goodness love. I feel myself tear up a bit. I think about Mary for a moment, but then remember what I'm here to do. Ned and I maneuver the cot past a tight angle, and now we're in the bedroom. It's just the four of us. Ned, Eddie, Ellen, and myself. I would normally complain about the banality of this call, but I can't because this time the little old Irma I'm picking up is actually someone I know and give a shit about. The room feels still and quiet. I ask Eddie if it's all right if we can take Ellen with us now. He nods his head and says, I can't be here for this. Eddie walks out of the room sobbing down the hallway before landing in the living room. I quietly close the door behind him. Ned and I prep the cot for Ellen's body, and I take a closer look. Ellen looks so peaceful. She actually was able to die with her mouth and eyes closed. That's an accomplishment at her age. She just looks like she's sleeping, and at any moment will wake up and ask me about my grandparents. She looks so petite and comfortable tucked into her pillows and bedding. Next to the bed, I see a picture of Eddie and Ellen sitting on her nightstand. It's the two of them standing in front of a sunset. Mary and I have a similar picture somewhere. I see the smile on both of their faces and think about how devastated Eddie is right now. What's he gonna do? How on earth can he function? He was with Ellen 10 times longer than I was with Mary. He must feel like he's lost everything. Fighting off the urge to cry, I tell Ned, "All right, let's go." We place a top sheet over Ellen and tuck it in under her body before we lift her up and place her on the cot. I can't help but wonder what Eddie is thinking about in the other room right now. Ned zips up the cot and we wheel Ellen's body from the bedroom to the living room. Eddie stands up from the love seat he was sitting on and places his right hand on Ellen's covered body. I think about how I touched Mary tonight. Through tears, I hear Eddie whisper to Ellen's body, "I love you, honey. I'll be seeing you real soon." He starts crying and says, "Okay, guys, you can take her." Ned and I start to move the stretcher to the front door. Eddie stops us and says, "Wait a second. I'll be right back." Ned and I stop the cot as he scurries into the kitchen. Ned gives me a look like, "What are we waiting for?" Well, I just shake my head. A few seconds later, Eddie pops out of the kitchen with tears in his eyes and something in his hand. He walks over to Ned and I and hands us each a pack of Twizzlers and says, "For the road?" Eddie puts his hands on his knees and starts bawling. Get ready, because I'm about to do something that's completely out of character. I hug Eddie and tell him thank you, and I'm so sorry. Before I can get out the word sorry, I feel my face contort and the tingling behind my eyes burst like a water main. I'm crying now just as hard as Eddie. Ned looks at me horrified. It's 5:56 now. I've been home for about 45 minutes. I cried the entire 10-minute drive home today and a little more when I got home and saw Carter. You'll be happy to know I took my pills and I'm feeling a little bit more well-adjusted now. That hour-long crying fit really wore me out. Or maybe it's just the 80 hours of sleeplessness I've gone through. I don't know. It's 6:03 now. Carter and I are in the bathroom. I'm brushing my teeth and Carter's just enjoying himself laying on the cold tile. My phone sitting next to the sink starts to ring. It's Mary. I spit out a mouthful of water and toothpaste and say to Carter, "You want to go for a walk?" He stands up and runs to the front door. I hear his tail banging excitedly down the hallway as he walks. I'm just staring at my phone now. The ringing stops. The screen goes black. I turn the bathroom light off, leaving the phone next to the sink, and walk down the hall. Carter is sitting next to the front door with his leash in his mouth. I smile. You know what? I think things are going to be okay. Let's go, bud. My name is Grant, and these are my funeral home stories. Join me next week as I sit down with journalist Rob Hunter for our post-mortem season wrap-up show where I'll explain what took so long and how this season's stories came together. And just because I know I'm going to get a lot of questions, Season 4 of My Funeral Home Stories is in production now, but I don't have a release date to share yet. For updates about My Funeral Home Stories and everything me, follow me on social media, @Pomo and Kitch. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave a positive rating wherever you listen, and don't forget to tell a friend. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you soon.